Stat of the day is always brought to you by Panini America, the official trading cards of the Dan Patrick Show. Also Sunday night, it'll be the Commanders and the Buccaneers. That'll be Football Night in America starting at 7 Eastern. Wild card game on the road, and the Buccaneers favored by 3. Hall of Fame head coach Bill Cowher, also part of NFL Today on CBS Studio. And, look who showed up early. Hi, Coach.
Yeah. I found Waldo.
Yeah. I told you I was going to put it up there. We made room.
I know.
There you go.
I appreciate that. I said stage right. That's good.
Does it look like you? Did you have to approve?
Well, I have multiple bobbleheads. I had one with a gold jacket on, another one with a headset. I think just one with a headset. I had to get the one that's just the coach. Hall of Fame doesn't deserve to be on that desk. I'm a regular guy, like the policeman, like everybody else. I'm not just an old football coach right next to the San Antonio traffic police guy.
Did you grow up hating Penn State?
Well, when they didn't offer me a scholarship, but my brother went there.
Okay, yeah, because I'm watching the game last night. I'm like, I think your dad was at Duquesne. Like you feel you were a Pitt guy.
Oh, I was on a recruiting trip up there, and they never offered me a scholarship. And ironically enough, my freshman year at NC State, I played as a freshman against them. And before the game, I pulled out the letter that says they didn't think I was big enough to play college Division I football. I said, well, we'll find out today, won't we?
Did you model your game after anybody?
No, I grew up watching Jack Lambert. I mean, I loved him. I didn't do it, but I loved Hacksaw Reynolds when he used to chop his feet in place before the ball was snapped. Just guys, I mean, people have their own personalities, right? And that's I don't know. I like Jack was my guy. Dick Butkus was my guy, and Ray Nitschke were my guys. Those were the 3 guys I looked at.
We talk about the Lions and Dan Campbell and creating culture. And it's a weird word when you create culture. Do you know how to create culture?
I think culture is something that is manifested. I think it takes time. It's creating a building where you'd like to think that you walk in there, there's a selflessness about it. There's also a sense of purpose about it. There's a trust that exists, and you're able to kind of give ownership to the players to oversee the locker room. And I think that's when you've gotten to that level. But the culture is about being real, being transparent, about holding people accountable. And you're in there for one purpose. When you walk in there, leave your ego at the door, and we're all in this thing together.
When did the hatred for the Ravens start? Or, both ways here.
Yeah, I mean, when they moved from Cleveland to Baltimore, I just called them the Browns. I mean, they can call themselves the Ravens, but I call them the Browns.
Wow.
And they're the same team that were up the turnpike. We're going to go east instead of going north. But they're still the same team we don't like. They're still the same team we take very personal with. And so, then it probably happened right around that 2000 era when Ray Lewis came in and started doing the dance. And then we were going back and forth with the division at that time. And I think that's the real rivalries are kind of bred. You know what, Dan? It's like when you are both fighting for that division and you find yourselves on top, and then we were both kind of identically built. It was about kind of a run the football, play defense, impose yourself on the other team. And we kind of took pride in that physicality part of the game. And I think the early 2000s, that was absolutely identified, and that's what that game was all about.
You don't strike me as a coach who would allow his players to be dancing like Ray Lewis did to open up a game.
Well, we didn't dance, but we talked a lot. I think we had a lot of guys that like to get the last word in. Joey Porter was never was lost for words on the field.
But you were okay with that?
Yeah, I wanted edgy players. I didn't mind having edgy players. I always said my job as a coach is for you to walk that line of being that almost arrogant, almost like supreme, and feel you're the best person on that field. And when you cross the line, my job is to pull you back. Where do you cross the line? When you disrespect the game, you disrespect the opponent, or you disrespect a teammate. And that's dancing or doing something that's in someone's face. So I said, just as long as you respect the game, walk that line. And sometimes I felt like guys were almost too safe, too cautious, didn't want to make a mistake. And I said, if I don't pull you back periodically, you're not walking the line close enough. So I kind of encouraged them to get to be a little bit of a swagger when we walked on that field.
Hall of Famer Bill Cowher, of course, NFL Today, CBS studio analyst. Did you ever come close to wanting to go after another coach, punch a coach?
Not punch a coach, but I think there's obviously the clip of me with Chris Hudson when he picked up the blocked field goal down at Jacksonville, walking down the sideline, and I kind of just was going to do one of those. But I blame that on the ghost of Woody Hayes. It was actually the very same sideline, the very same part of the field where he punched Charlie Bowman from Clemson. So I think that was the Woody Hayes that came out. It was the same field, same part of the field. It's ironic if you go back and someone pointed that out to me, and I said, well, that answers it. That couldn't have been me doing that. But no, I never know. I respected the game, and I love to compete. I didn't like losing, but never really took it that personally. If I took it personally, I took it upon myself that we didn't do enough to win the game.
If I gave you the Lions or the field in the NFC, who would you take?
Well, right now, I would say the Lions. And I say that for this reason. They are so battle-tested right now. They are such a reflection of Dan Campbell. Everyone keeps talking about what they don't have. And he just keeps using that to fuel this team. Aaron Glenn has done a fantastic job. Ben Johnson, I think, is one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. And they're getting a little bit healthy right now. So they get a bye week. They get healthy. You're playing at home in Detroit. They got to win 2 games. I just don't know if there's a team there. You saw what they did against Minnesota. That's probably their biggest rivalry if you think about that team. The only team that I think that really can go in there are the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Philadelphia Eagles has what it takes because they can run the football. They can play defense right now. And they got a really good offensive line. And if, again, Jalen Hurts comes back, and he's supposed to come back this week, I think that's the one team to me that I think can battle them.
If I gave you the Chiefs of the field in the AFC?
Well, we've been picking against the Chiefs all season long. We keep waiting for the shoe to drop on that team. But, again, they're playing at home. They're getting healthy. I still look at Baltimore and Buffalo as 2 teams. Now, they're going to meet probably in the divisional round to go there. I think both those teams, kind of like the thorn in both of those teams, has been the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think either one of those 2 teams are going to have a chance to go into to Kansas City with a little bit of a chip on their shoulders. So it's hard to pick against them, but I think there's a few more teams in the AFC I think that can challenge the Chiefs, and there are in the NFC that can challenge the Lions.
What's it like to be a head coach when you want your assistants, your offensive or defensive coordinators, to be able to interview for a head coaching job? And I know this probably didn't go on when you were coaching, but now, imagine you're Dan Campbell and you're probably losing both of your coordinators, but he's still there as the head coach while they're interviewing for other jobs.
Yeah, I think the first week is not a problem. I think when you have the week off, I think it's not a problem with that. And I think, number one, I always looked at it as a feather in my cap. I had 8 guys that went on to become head coaches from my staff, and I always looked at that as I was proud of that. I'm very, very proud that they were able to move on from us and be able to go to the next level. So I think it's a problem is when they're interviewing during the course of the game they're having that week. I don't think I would allow that because to me the attention should be on that game because that game is also going to be a reflection on your record and on our record, and it's an opportunity in the playoffs. It's single elimination. This is not best of 3. So it's single elimination. And to me, when you have the week of the game, that focuses on the week of the game. But the bye week, I get it. I understand it because people like to move fast in our league. And I think the bottom line, and I told this to Dan, as I said, the one thing when you have success, and I learned this very early, is you better have a backup plan to having your coordinators that are going to get plucked to go to become head coaches, which is a feather in your cap. It's nothing to look negatively about. But now be able to maybe work in-house and be able to promote in-house if you can do it. And I think that's the ideal atmosphere. You talk about culture. How about a great culture where if you stay right there that you may have a chance to advance in your own field of employee and actually have a chance to become a head coach. So I think he has a backup plan to both those things. And I think most coaches do, but I always encourage them then when you have success, the first thing you better do is have a backup plan for your assistant coaches.
You got a story about Roethlisberger frustrating you?
Um, well,
Did he always
you know,
listen to you when you called in plays?
well, he would do one of these things, like he said, well, no, because he'd say that
he
he would
couldn't
say,
hear
"Oh,
you.
it's not working." I said, "Well, the communication's not working." They go, "I think it is." I go, "Well, let's check his helmet when he gets out." I said, "Just grab his helmet one time." So we grabbed his helmet. They go, "Coach, it's working fine." He goes, "It just came back on." I go, "No, that's not." I go, "That is not a true statement, Ben. I know it." I said, "That's not. You can't. I can't hear it now. You're calling plays." So the interesting question now, I'm going to sit down. I always wonder about this, and I wanted to talk to Sean McDermott, and I'm going to ask him when I sit down with him later on today. Matter of fact, and when Josh Allen breaks the pocket, it was almost like when Ben used to break the pocket. It was like, oh no, here we go again. It's street ball. I don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of buckle your seatbelt. And it's just like, oh my God, here he goes again. Just don't be careless. Don't be reckless. And big plays will happen. And Troy Polamalu, he's supposed to be playing half the field. And I see him start to creep up to the line of scrimmage. I'm going, is he going to drop or not? I don't even know. Like, so I said, so you wonder what goes through your stomach. But I always say, great players, Troy Polamalu, Ben Roethlisberger, you can't harness greatness. And sometimes you want that to become an unbridled feeling that they have on that field where they can take over a game. And most of the times they do. Now, sometimes you're going to live with the mistakes that they have and the choices that they make. But man, you want these guys on your team, and you know through the course of time that their decision making is going to be the right thing. But you know what? In the meantime, though, you sit there, your stomach's turning. You're like a fan, like, oh boy, here we go again. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, that was a great play. Yeah, sure was. So you kind of just go, you turn into a fan watching this, go, well, this will be interesting to see what happens here. And he's running to the right, throwing it back to the left. And, it's just, okay. And sometimes those are the plays that, that win championships and win games. And sometimes they're not the things they make up. It's the players that you entrust with the system that they kind of take it to another level.
Safe travels. Thanks for the bobblehead. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Dan. Always a pleasure to be on.
That's the Hall of Fame coach, Bill Cowher, sent in the bobblehead. Wanted to make sure I displayed it here on the desk. He's fun. I didn't really know him when he was coaching, but he has, subsequently been on quite a few times. I think enjoys coming on, and I just love the stories.